So, again, thank you all for being here. You probably want to know why you're here. I want to start with that first. It's a very eclectic group here in the sense that some of you folks are performers, that is our scientists and technologists. Some of you folks are from the investment world. Some of you are from the large companies, some of you from small businesses, some of you are from universities. You're a community, and we want to create this new community around this concept of doing biological sciences for specific build of a capability. I think that a lot of what Steve had talked about, as you had heard, was a lot of the work that we invest in is an intent to build a capability of some kind. I like to paraphrase our director, Dr. Prabhakar, when she says, we do fundamental science, not as a goal, but to build a capability. But what does that mean? It means that we have to obviously invest in fundamental science. But you want to do it in a way that there's a clear pathway towards a something. And that something ultimately will get out into the real world and do good stuff. The problem with a lot of the work in fundamental sciences doesn't articulate that pathway at the very get-go. And since it doesn't do that, it often doesn't make it into the real world. And it becomes essentially what I like to call is a science fair project. It's cool, it's whiffy, you can read about it in the paper. Maybe you can see it in the Museum of Modern Art, I don't know where. But, you certainly see it in the glass case of the university when you walk in, all right? But what you want to do is you want to see it in the hospital. What you want to do is you want to see it at the eye store. Where you want to see it is on somebody standing on the street corner on 3rd and 45th using it for a purpose. To do that requires, obviously, the scientists and technologists at the front end, but it requires equally brilliant people, knowledgeable in commercialization, knowledgeable in marketing, knowledgeable in getting through the regulatory pathway to take it all the way into the real world. That is why we're asking all of you to be here together with us, to work with us. DARPA is a funding agency. We give out government money. This is a great job. I've got more friends than you know, right? But the point is I want to be able to develop this technology and hand it off to somebody else. I hope it's a large pharma. I hope it's a small biotech company. I hope it's a venture capitalist or a private equity group. I don't care. I want it to move out so it goes into the people that are outside around here to use. And that is the point of this meeting. So you can hear what we do, and we can hear what you do so that we can work together to create this community. Because at the end of the day, wise spending of the government dollar is what we're talking about. The government should use public funds to inspire innovation, to inspire new ideas, to motivate. But it's going to require all of you to help us then create that wonderful thing that's going to make the world better. And that's what this is really all about. Okay? So you are going to hear from our PMs. It's very important. When Alicia and I started this office, we got together the most brilliant people that we can find. We stole the best out of our own agency and then went out in the real world and stole some even better people. Elizabeth Shukowski is a classic example. Phil Alvela is the classic example. Jack Newman. We stole these people out of the real world, but are already building upon the brilliant people that we have in Barry Pallotta, Justin Sanchez, Doug Weber, Justin Gallivan, one of the handsomest guys I know, and Matt Hepburn, and Chris Orlowski. These are the folks that we brought in to help us build this office, this biological technology office. And each one is different because it's meant to be that way. And each only lasts 5 years. It's meant to be that way because we're constantly shifting. So if we're not doing something that's really interesting you today, that's okay. Wait till next year. We'll have somebody else come in and do something else. And that's what we do. So we have 3 pillars. We have 3 pillars that we started on. Number 1 is human health and performance. Number 2 is synthetic biology. And number 3 is neuroscience. Those are our 3 big pillars. And then we have a 4th area that's open for cool ideas. And so when Alicia and I started this, we had 3 pillars, because you have to start somewhere, but those 3 pillars may change, or we expect them to change, right? So then you would say to yourself, that sounds all great, but we talk about big ideas. We always talk about innovation. Those are catchwords today. What does it mean to DARPA? Now, DARPA is not a huge agency. We have 1/10 of the budget of NIH. We have 1/3 of the budget of NSF. but we have a track record of amazing achievement because we keep our hand on the tiller. Working with a DARPA program manager means you just inherited your new best friend. Your DARPA program manager, when they fund you, are going to get into your shorts every week and walk around the room with you, all right? Because we keep our hand on the tiller. We definitely keep our hand on the tiller because we are as passionate as you are on this really cool stuff you're going to do. But scientists are scientists, technologists. You know, they see something, they go, ooh, they're very interested. That looks cool. I'm going to kind of drift over here. I'm going to drift over there. I'm going to drift over here. It's kind of like a kindergartner. But DARPA program managers, because Alicia and I keep our foot on their neck, are going to keep their foot on your neck. And the whole idea is if it's going to be great, then you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to do it. If you're going to change the world, and somebody says, I want to change the world with you, you're a genius. You're a brilliant technologist. I want to give you some cash, and you're going to go do it. If you're changing the world, then get to it. What are you waiting on, right? I mean, how many times have you heard, oh, yeah, this scientist got this great thing for curing Alzheimer's disease. He showed it in mice. In about 5 or 10 years, maybe we'll get in the clinic. 5 or 10 years? What's up? How many more people need to get Alzheimer's before you get your butt back in the lab? Why are you taking a vacation? Right? I mean, you're going to cure Alzheimer's disease. I mean, I think that's pretty worth it myself, personally. I mean, if you cure Alzheimer's, make no mistake, you'll win a Nobel Prize, you'll be on TV, you'll even get a Fast and the Cheerios box. I mean, you know, really get to it. That is the kind of people we want to work with, people who are all in. People who are all in. So, let's come back. Let's be more tangible. Let's talk about a program as an exemplary program, an example. This is not the best, it's not the greatest, but it's an example of what happens when you put your foot to the metal and say, let's go. So, how did I come to DARPA? I came to DARPA because I was poor, all right? And because back in, after I came out of a graduate school, I decided I wanted to go to med school. I didn't have any money. I was broke because I was a postdoc. You guys know what that was. I was a postdoc at Memorial Sloan Kettering, you know, so you know how that goes. If Dr. Abuzio is here, she'll tell you about that. And so I had to join the Army. So I joined the Army, and that's all fine. So I joined the Army because I needed money to go to school, and it's okay. But I stayed in the Army for a different reason. I ended up staying 27 years, which is really kind of remarkable when you think about it, because there's no freaking way on earth coming out of Cornell, Memorial Sloan Kettering, that I was going to go and stay in the Army. There's no way. And here it is, 27 years later. Not only did I get old, and I did get a pension, which was good, but I stayed in the Army because you end up staying for a different reason, and that's a very common theme. Because when I was in the Army, I found out something really remarkable. I came into a community of people who want to do good things. Seriously. They want to do good things, and we ask them to do good things, to go to respond to the Ebola crisis, to go face down ISIS, to go do all this stuff, to respond to 9/11. Somebody's got to do something. Oh my God, look what they did. Somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to go stop them. Who's that somebody? Who's that somebody? There's young people that we send from our society. They're that somebody. And we ask them to do a lot of stuff, and it requires a lot more than just running around in the desert with a gun. My good friend Matt Hepburn and I and Major Orlowski, we all spend time downrange. And we'll tell you, it's more than just running around with a gun. We ask young people to be in very physically demanding areas. We ask them to work with incredible equipment. We ask them to do remarkable things in a very difficult environment. So, given that, that's why I stayed. And I stayed at DARPA because DARPA allowed us to do these transformative things, things that we want to use to help these folks do the right thing. That's what we want. They are your grandfather who served in World War II. That's who these people are. And so we wanted to help them. Someone needs to help me. We'll turn these daggone slides. All right, next slide, please. And so I had a chance to go out, and I served as a doctor in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And these are my patients. These are my patients. The one on the right is obviously a soldier who got injured badly. That leg is a non-viable limb. He's going to lose that leg. He had a brain injury, and so on and so forth. But I also took care of this on the left, that little boy. When I was in Afghanistan, 15% of my patients were Afghans. 15%. Oh, no, excuse me. 15% were Afghan children. About 80% were Afghans. 80% were Afghans. And it was okay. Because our hospital commander, General Stone, at that time said, take them all. Because if you take care of somebody's kid, you'll have a friend forever. And that was true. But that little kid over there, that little, you see that big bandage on his right hand? He lost that hand. No hand. Because the Russians, as you know, were throwing landmines all over the country when they occupied it. And some of them look like little butterflies. Seriously, they're gray, they're about that big, they look like little butterflies. And the kids would throw rocks at them, you know? And that's what happened. He threw a rock at it, exploded, and he lost his hand. And it's very shame. But you look at that and you say, geez, I want to do something. I want to do something. More than just patch him up and send him back out. I want to do something. And I was really super lucky. You know why? Because I was a DARPA program manager. And a DARPA program manager could do anything. That's what's cool. We are the best. I'll tell you right now, we are the best. We can do anything. And so what we decided to do was, when I came home, I said to our leadership at the time, we're going to do something here, because what is the best thing that's available for our people? And that's this, a hook. So the story begins with a hook. The story has a hook, all right? And that is what is the very best thing that you can get if you go to Sinai or Cornell or Columbia or Einstein here in the city. This is what you're going to get. Look at that thing. It's ugly. It hasn't changed much in the Civil War other than the fact that the hook at the end of it's made out of stainless steel instead of iron. You can say this is functional. What's the big deal? You can pick up a fork with it. You pick up a spoon with it. You'd eat with it. Really? You think that's functional? Try taking care of your morning ablutions with that bad boy. You can need a proctologist every doggone day. So that is not what I call the best thing ever. What do we want? See, so this is what we can do. This is what's, when you talk to folks, they said, oh, this is what is possible. Forget what's possible. What do we want? What do we aspire to? Next. We aspire to this. We want to take that little boy and give him an arm, like Luke Skywalker or Del Spooner had, so that they can have the life that they had. It looks like an arm, feels like an arm, acts like an arm, control it like an arm, play the piano with it, you throw a baseball with it, you do all that cool stuff. In fact, at the end of the day, that little boy, he wants to grow up and he wants to look not like Captain Hook. He wants to look like Del Spooner. Well, hell, I like to look like Del Spooner. But that's what he wants. He wants to look like Del Spooner. So how do you do that? Have you go from that hook? How do you do that? You do it the DARPA way. And the DARPA way says, okay, I know what I want. I know where I am, that funky looking plastic hook that you saw, and I know where I want to be, which is a brain-controlled robot arm. So you know the 2 points of the spectrum, and then you say to yourself, how do I do the build to get there in a disciplined manner? It requires two things. And this is what makes it DARPA. Number one is, well, let's go back to the previous slide. You require a robotic arm, so you need great engineers, and it requires brain control, because that's how you control your arm, which requires neuroscience. So now we're taking biology, coupling it with engineering, and together they can do awesome stuff. And what we do is, in the DARPA way, is we say, this is what we want our arm to do, X, Y, and Z. Got to weigh 8 pounds. Why 8 pounds? So that your own arm weighs 8 pounds, so you're not walking around like this with a 20-pound arm. I need it to be quiet, right? I don't want the guy going, eat, eat, eat. You know, don't want that. Got to be nice and quiet and smooth. It's got to be waterproof, so he doesn't electrocute himself when he's in the shower. You have all those things, and you list them as a list. And we want it in 2 years. This is not one of these 10-year, God knows what we're going to get at the end of it. This is 2 years, because we all know what it wants, and you're going to get 2 years. And you know what you're going to get? You're going to people will say, you are crazy. There's no freaking way we're going to be able to do that. And you're going to say, yeah, we are, but we got this big sack of money here, see? And so then what happens is, then you get people who say, you're crazy, but I think I can do it. And those are the people we want to talk to. Because those people know they have to go all in. The only way they're going to get this thing done in 2 years is they're going to work night and day. And we did. We got some crazy folks, great engineers who said, yeah, I can do that. I'll give up vacation, I'll do that, but with that sack of money and this goal, I can do it. Thumbs up, I can do it. The second one is brain control. That's tough. I mean, you're going to tap into somebody's brain to get them to run a robotic device. That's never been done before. And, requires somebody actually volunteering to do this, and how do you do it, blah, blah, blah. So we realized that one's pretty hard, so we gave them 4 years. And then, again, we got, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. But then we got some really amazing people, Doug Weber, one of them, who actually came up and said, I can do it. We can do it. And so we then gave them the money as a contract to go do it. Why is a contract? Why not a grant? Because a contract, the government still has control. The contract allows us to push, push, push. But you know what? Sometimes science is just too hard. I mean, we all aspire to this stuff, but sometimes it's just not going to work. You're not ready. If that's the case, fine. Fail early, fail fast. Pull the money back, kill the program, move on to something else. That's what we do. So we don't sit there and fund these things until they basically, either the investigator dies or the idea dies. I mean, that's not the idea. The idea is to fund it till it makes sense. Either you succeed or you find the fail point. Because you're going to learn a lot when you find the fail point, right? But then fail early, fail fast, disengage, move on, get something else. That's how come we can do what we do with 1/10 of the budget of the NIH. And by the way, that 1/10 of a budget, and I'm putting a plug in for my own office, you hear, Alicia and I only get 10% of that, even though we're the most important office. Okay? So we're working on 1% of the NIH budget, but yet we can drive because that's what we do. So we did this, and we said, look, we recognize it's going to take a lot of stuff, right? This best robot arm, brain control, next slide. And it requires a lot of things. It's going to require power and actuation. Next slide. It's going to require, next slide, sensory capability. We've got to make this arm feel as well as motor. Next slide. And it requires the actual build of the entire device itself. Next slide. And it requires tapping into the brain. So with the money that we had, we brought in the best engineers we could find that said, we can do this. We can build this arm. Cool, we're all in. We brought in some of the best neuroscientists in the country. I brought in Justin Sanchez. I brought in Andy Schwartz. I brought in John Donahue. I brought in all these famous guys, Chris Shenoy. These are just powerhouse names. Brought them in and said, can we work on this? And they said, yeah, let's go do it together. Let's go do it together. And they all had to work together, which is really remarkable, getting a bunch of scientists to work together. That's why you got to have a contract. And get them all to come together and work. And next slide. And in the end, we succeeded. We succeeded. But we did it in 2 ways. There's always called risk mitigation. So we said, let's build an arm that you don't tie into the brain, see how good it can be, because it's got to be better than that daggone hook. And let's build an arm that can actually be brain controlled. And that was the goal. That was the goal. And so at the beginning of 2015, where are we now? We succeeded. Long story short, we succeeded. Next slide. So this is the very best arm that doesn't require brain control. Next slide. That's it. Doesn't have its skin covering on it yet, but that's it. It looks great. But what's special about it, you would say? Well, it weighs 8 pounds, what if we blah, 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 blah. But the cool thing is, it's modular. It's modular. If you lost your hand, take the hand, just the hand. If you lost your elbow and the hand, take that part. If you need the entire ensemble, take that. And you know what's even cooler? It's FDA approved. 100% smack dab FDA approved. That ain't bad from 7 years, from an idea to full 100% FDA approval. And by the way, the last 4 years, to talk to my friend Ken Pankratz, took getting through the FDA. So this arm is now going to manufacturing, and you too, by Christmas, can buy one on a blue light special at Walmart. All right, so next slide. But how good is it? And take a look. So this is a stripped down version. This is Chuck. He has no arms. No arms. He has to open the doors with his feet. His wife has to help feed him. And yet now with just this one arm, he says, and that's Randy on the other side, who has the full arm that includes the shoulder. Chuck, with the green shirt, only needed he has a shoulder joint there, so he only needed the mid-humeral version. And he's handing off a golf ball. They're going to pour water with each other. And it's not brain controlled, it's body controlled. It has a foot switch that allows it to cycle through some couple of grips. When they turn, it turns. When they lean forward, it comes out. That's Chuck picking up a grape, which is pretty cool. And it goes on from there. So it's a very functional arm. What can it not do? Well, you really can't play the piano with it. You can't do fine motor finger things with it. But it's actually not bad. Go to the next slide. But he's able to eat sushi with chopsticks. So not bad, not bad. So let's go next. So our belief is, next slide please. Our belief is that was for folks who don't want any surgery. They've already lost their arm, they're hurt, had enough of doctors. Totally get it. Here's an arm. It'll let you do things. Chuck, by the way, has started his own business now. He had no arm, started his own business now. He actually has a lawn servicing business. With his one arm, he can drive a tractor and things like that. And so we took a person who didn't have a job to one who created his own business, and now he's a positive contributor to society in very many ways. So very, very enabling. That's great. But the cool thing was, can we tap into the brain? Can we actually tap in the brain? The short answer is yes. So next slide. In this one, this is, don't start it yet, this is kludgy. So what happens is that what you're going to see here, is,
Nice.
There you go.
why don't you go back a slide? Go back a slide.
That's nice, solid.
All right, so what you're going to see in the upcoming slide is Tim. Tim actually is a quadriplegic. He hurt himself in a severe motorcycle accident. Can't move his body below his neck. Cannot move his body at all below his neck. Been like that for 7 years. And so he was kind enough to volunteer for this project where we went ahead and we put in a very teeny tiny device called an ECOG. It's the size of your thumbnail, but the thickness of a credit card, laid on the surface of his brain over the area that controls his normal arm. And we read those signals using this ECOG device, and then we're able to put it into this robot arm, and you'll see it. Now this, what I wanted to show you this, you're going to say, well, it looks a little kludgy, and I totally get it, but that's because it was the very first time that this happened. Basically what happened was we set up the camera, turned the switch on, and let it run for the very, very first time. Let it run for the first time. Because we want to capture that moment, right? It could be really cool. It could be a disaster, right? But then it would be in DARPA bloopers or something. The thing could catch on fire, but that's okay. That's okay, because that's historic, right? But so what you're going to see is that moment where we turned the switch on and said, Tim, run the arm. And all we asked Tim to do is go up, down, left, or right. That's all we asked him to do. Go up, down, left, right. That's all we asked him to do. But you watch what happens as this progresses. Go ahead and turn it on now, please. And put the volume up. So we started to go up, down, and of course, they wanted to go ahead and do a high five.
Nice.
Is there volume? What happened to the volume? And of course, his girlfriend immediately went up and said, geez, I want to hold your hand. And she reaches out. And she holds his hand. So the very first day,
Baby, I want to hold you.
which is remarkable here is that there's a human in the loop.
Yeah.
And that human in the loop
Nice,
really kind of
solid.
accelerates
Yeah.
everything. It changes everything. And what's remarkable here is that I want you to step away, because right now you're looking at it and you're saying, well, gee, Geoff, it's kind of kludgy. I mean, the guy always does up, down, left, right. I mean, what a big deal, you know? And I say to you guys, imagine if you were on the base of Kill Devil Hill in North Carolina in 1903, and these two maniacs get up there and shove this nasty-looking thing off of a cliff, one of them riding it, Orville, and say, it's impossible. Man flight's impossible. And then they fly. They fly 11 seconds. And you look at it, and you go, wow. Either you're going to say, that's the coolest thing I ever saw, or you're going to say, oh, man, it's loud, it's kludgy, flew for stinking 11 seconds, it smells bad.
Baby, I want
Let's leave. Let's go home. Let's go home, and get something to eat. Or you could say, whoa, that just blew me away. I'm going to go start FedEx. I'm going to go start, SpaceX. I'm going to go start, Southwest Airlines. Which one are you? Which one are you? And so then we went further on this. That's all right. Go to the next slide. 7 months. Remember what I told you about DARPA? Not 7 years, not 7 decades, 7 months later, this is jammed.
And
left
straight
to
right,
right.
diagonally.
And left to
I
right,
can close it
diagonally.
and open it.
I can close
And I
it.
can go forward and
and
back.
open it.
That is just the most
And I can
astounding
go
thing I've
forward
ever
and
seen.
back.
Can we shake hands?
Sure.
No, really.
I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Like,
Can we shake hands?
come right over here?
Yes, you come over
Okay.
there.
Like, come right over here?
Yes, you come over
Okay.
there. You grasp your hand there. There we go.
Oh my
Grasp your hand
goodness.
there. There we go.
Oh,
Wow.
my
And I can do a
goodness.
fist bump if you'd like.
Wow.
And I can do a fist bump if you'd like.
That's amazing.
And it is, isn't it?
That's amazing.
7 months later. Not 7 years, not 7 decades, 7 months later. Think about how fast aerospace progressed from the Wright brothers. 1903. 15 years later, what were the airplanes like? That's the dawn of the First World War. Think about 20 years after that. Dawn of the Second World War, what were airplanes like? 20 years. And what would happen 65 years after the Wright brothers flew their airplane? Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. Single lifestyle. That's how fast it can go. And I submit to you, look how fast this is going. And you say, well, what's next? This is Jan, and she's hooked directly into a flight simulator. She's flying this airplane with her mind. And she noticed this. She's flying through a canyon and say, well, it looks a little kludgy and stuff. She's never had a flight lesson in her life. Never in her life. And now she's flying the J-35 Joint Strike Fighter, the most sophisticated aircraft in the world. And although it's a little kludgy, she doesn't crash. She'll dive and she'll climb because she thinks about diving and climbing. It's a different experience. All of you are brilliant people. All of you are highly accomplished. All of you are imaginative and innovative. What can you imagine now that we can do this? What's next? And what's next after that? DARPA will not necessarily be there for all of that. But that's not our intent. Our intent is to open the door, show a world of possibility, and then invite brilliant people like you to come help us realize that. And DARPA then will back out and go do something else, look for another door to open. But it requires your help, everybody in this room, to work with us so that we can realize the benefits of this and other things that you'll hear about as we move forward. This is not just a symposium where you kind of sit there passively and hear about cool things. It's a symposium to inspire you to work with us. We want to work with you. We want to create this. We want to take this out so this goes away from being just a cool video of showing how somebody can use their brain to directly pilot an aircraft or a robot arm into the opportunity space that's out there for all of us. But to do that, we're the government. We're not going to build factories. We're not going to build a marketing scheme. We're not going to do any of that stuff. You are. And that's why we need our help, your help. So in the end, this is an amazing journey that we're on. It's a journey of the future. We talk of innovation. We talk of the future. Please, come with us on this journey and help us together realize the future that's before us. Thanks.